Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead. As you know, we focus on three things, and today's video has to do with all three: food security, emergency preparedness, and self-reliance. And this is based on an experience that one of our viewers had and reported under one of our videos. Some of you may have read it. Today we're going to talk about what to do if your pressure canner blows. Now, this was Marty, who let us know of an experience that she had. She's a relatively new canner, been canning about 3 years, and she does everything by the book. She's done her homework, she's done a lot of research, she's watched a lot of our videos and other YouTube channels that she trusts because they also follow USDA guidelines. And this was just, from my perspective, it had to be kind of a fluke, but that sometimes happens with anything that we do. What I do not want to have happen today is to discourage anyone from pressure canning because of this incident. Rather, what this is going to do is better prepare all of us for the possibility, remote possibility, that this little, and I'll show this in detail a little bit more, that this overpressure plug blows. Anytime we work with tools, there is the possibility of some kind of an accidental injury, and that is what we want to avoid. Now, canners these days are extraordinarily safe, much more safe than they were when I first started canning back in the 60s and 70s. If your canner dates back that far, you might seriously want to think about getting a new canner because there are many more safety features that have been improved and put in place. Now, what do I mean if my canner blows? It does not mean that my canner is exploding, because that just doesn't happen anymore with the current safety features that are in place. And it is all provided that you are doing things safely. One of the things that we have stressed over and over on this channel is that knowledge is power. And whether you're sitting in a university classroom, perhaps in one of my classes or one of your own classes, or whether you are doing anything that requires skill and intellect, knowledge is power. The more you know, the more you can adjust things so that you can be safe. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and this is in the hopes that all of us will just practice safety. Now, Marty practiced safety, and yet this little gasket blew. So let's talk about what happens. Now, this is my canner. This is a Presto 23-quart stovetop canner. It is my go-to canner. I have used this model of canner for probably 40, 50 years, 50 years anyway, easily. This is not the exact one that I have used because I've been through about 3 canners. One got lost in a move, and another one just got all dented up and I tossed it. But I've been working with this one for probably, what would you say, Jim? 20 years, 18 years, something like that. Plus, I have a new one that I found on sale that's still in a box. It's my backup canner. So whenever this one starts acting up beyond where it is safe, I have a backup model. And it's been out there for 5 years, but it's still perfectly good. One of the things that has concerned Jim and me over the years that we've been doing this YouTube channel is sometimes the questions that we get. And the questions regarding canners in particular. How much water do I put in the bottom? How this, how that? That these are questions that can be answered using your instruction booklet. Now, I have long ago lost my instruction booklet for this one, but all instruction booklets for the modern canners are available online for you to download and print out, and that's what I have done. I've done just a few pages that talk about the safety features. I don't need the recipes and that sort of thing, that talk about safety features and maintenance. And that's what we need to be sure that we are doing with canners. This set of instructions gives a list of things that you need to do when you first get your canner to ensure that you get off to a right start, and then it talks about how to maintain. Now, regardless of your canner, you should have these safety features. So let's come close and just look at what the safety features are. This one has a dial that dials the pressure. It also has a pressure regulator, which is this weight that goes on the vent here is the vent. And if you look at the underside, you will see that that vent hole is hardly more than a pinprick. And yet, one of the things that we need to do always, and Marty did this, is to hold it up to the light, look through it to be sure that you can see the light. See that it is not clogged at all. This is the air lock, the air vent lock. It catches the steam. Now remember, it's like this. So the steam comes up and hits this and pushes it up. And when it is in the up position, it is locked and no steam can get out. Until that time, it is down and you may see some steam coming out here. But when the pressure builds, that airlock goes up and seals it. So we have pressure then. The only place that the pressure can come out is right here through the vent. And as a result of the pressure being built, this dial will tell us exactly how much, if it has been regulated. And we need to be sure that we get this checked, the pressure measurement checked on this. But there's one thing that can also happen. This pressure regulator that fits over the vent is also a 15-pound weight. And that means it starts to jiggle when the pressure gets to 16. So it'll go once the pressure gets up to 15 psi. So this is a double check for your pressure. Once this starts to jiggle, 15 pounds should also be registered on your dial if you have a dial canner. Now, this little button right here is called the overpressure plug. This is the safety escape for steam. So if something happens and if your vent is plugged, or if something else happens, so the pressure and the airlock is up, the pressure regulator is in place, and steam and pressure starts to build, and maybe it goes beyond that 15 mark, gets to 16, 17, 18, this plug will go psh, it will blow. And when it blows, you will know it because it's this big around. Now, pressure here goes, it escapes a little at a time. When this blows, it will blow a column of steam that is coming out at 15 pounds per square inch, and it will go, and it may shoot clear up to your ceiling. Now, what also could happen on the inside of the canner, and this would happen when you are pressure canning, that immediate drop in pressure could break a jar, and not just steam might come out, but also some of the food from a broken jar will be forced through this hole and it will just shoot straight up. Now, let's think about that for just a moment. That won't happen unless the pressure inside the canner is more than 15. It'll be 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there before that blows. And that is what will prevent an explosion with your canner. This is the most important safety feature that you can have, and all canners should have one of these, some kind of an emergency release for pressure if the pressure builds too high. All right, now in thinking about that, it's going to be very, very startling when that happens. It's going to make a big noise, like that. And you'll see steam just going up, and you're gonna, if it were me, and probably you, my heart is just gonna start thumping inside my chest. And I'm gonna think, oh no, what do I do, what do I do? Well, that's what we're going to be doing today in this video. We're going to be preparing you for what to do if. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I do what if scenarios all the time to ensure my safety, more so in today's world than I ever have before. What would I do if, when I'm at a gas station alone with my truck, I pull into the gas station and somebody wants to hijack my truck? What would I do? What would I do? Okay, so I don't ever leave my truck unlocked. If I have to run into the store to use the restroom or whatever to buy something, I always leave my truck locked. When I'm pumping gas, I make sure that all of the doors are locked except the driver's door where I'm standing. And so I take precautions to prevent things from happening. That's what we're going to do today. So what are the precautions we need to take in advance that will move the percentage, the probability of this happening way, 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 way far away from us. So first of all, check the vent, as we just said. Then on the inside, make sure that this airlock works. And this little airlock unscrews. And you can clean it if it gets dirty. Here is a little gasket right here. Make sure that this is still working and still working in that it's not cracked or anything like that. This is still all intact. And then put the thing back together again. And then make sure that it's working. Now here is your sealing ring. Now this sealing ring is made of a rubber-like compound, and it should be soft and pliable, and it shouldn't be dry or cracked or mottled in any way. And then we need to make sure that it is completely clean in this place where it goes, right here. Every time you use your canner and you wash the canner, make sure that you also wash your sealing ring. Dry it and put it back. Now, when it is brand new, and only when it is brand new, the instructions say if you have a difficult time opening the canner, that means that you might need to put a little tiny bit of vegetable oil on this just to make it so it works a little bit better. But never afterward does it say anything about putting oil on, just that one time. I've never put oil on mine. And then make sure that it is down. Don't let it ride on top here. Make sure that it's down under all the way around. So this is set. This is the vent. It's clear. Make sure you check the nut here to make sure it's tight. That nut holds your dial in place. And then make sure that this overpressure ring is still soft and pliable and has no cracks in it. Now, one thing that I learned in this whole experience is the suggestion here in this edition of the instructions for this canner is that this overpressure plug and the sealing ring should be replaced every 3 years if you use your canner a lot, or sooner if you notice any mottling or anything else. So today we're going to replace this overpressure plug, this emergency gasket, whatever it is that you want to call it. And because that's what happened with Marty. This blew. Steam came out. She says that she got a couple of red spots on her face. I wasn't sure if that was from food flying or from the heat or what. So we are going to replace this, and then we're going to talk about exactly what you do if that should happen to you. All right, so let's go ahead and replace this. Now, I've never replaced one before, ever. I've never replaced a gasket. Well, yes, I did once when one got old a long time ago, long time ago. I am now going to, on a regular basis, change both the sealing ring and the overpressure plug. So we do it from the bottom. So just push, except I don't have the pushing strength that I once did, so I'm going to try to use a pencil to help me. And there it is. Now mine, I'm greasy, mine still looks really good, but I'm not taking any chances. And so I bought a new one. I wonder where I got that grease. I guess just right in there. So this is the size of the hole where steam will be shooting up if that blows. This is such a wonderful, wonderful safety feature because this will save our whole thing from exploding, which canners just never do anymore. Okay, so I just bought this one from Amazon. It was like $7. It's a brand new one. I'm comparing, oh my goodness sake. I'm comparing. This one is much softer and more pliable. This one is This one is hard. This one is softer and more pliable. So I'm going to push it in from the underneath side until it pops. Oh, that was so easy. It just went right in. And right here you can see the word top. So you should be able to see that word top right there. Now I'm going to take a second and wash my hands. So this is now all ready to go. Now I should replace my gasket at the same time, and I have one on order, and it will be here either today or tomorrow, and I will replace this. But this is easily replaced. There's no trick to just putting a new one right in there, so that's going to happen. Okay, so now we are ready to put it on the canner. So when you get your canner ready to go, make sure that you have this set up safely, and this is what I mean by that. So here is that little overpressure plug. If it blows, it's going to go this way. So if Jim is standing where the stove is, and I'm the wall, and your canner is right here, do you want to have the overpressure plug facing toward you when you come to look at your canner? Absolutely not. You want it to be here. So both of these where steam can come out are off to the side so that when you approach the canner, you can see the dial. We've got the regulator in place, and so everything is behind, and you're in the safe zone of your canner. Now, there have been a couple of times I can outside on a camp stove, and a couple of times I've had comments under those particular videos that show where I have this facing right toward me or a little bit off to the side. And I've been chided a little bit by a couple of people. Pam, please, you're making me so nervous. Don't have this overpressure plug pointing in any way toward you. And because I've never given it much of a thought, I've never had any time ever has it blown, I have been a little lax in my safety about that. No more. Not after Marty's experience that she shared with us. She's making me a safer canner because now I will be canning to where these two things are off to the side. This is the one that will blow. This one will not blow. It could shoot, the pressure could shoot this off. That would rarely happen, but it could. And so you might have steam coming out here and steam coming out here as well. This one won't blow so long as the pressure is holding it up. All right, so what do you do if that should happen? You've done everything exactly right, like Marty did. And for some weird reason, this blew. Well, it's going to scare you to death. It would scare me to death. And my first impression would be, oh no, I need to run in here. I need to stop this. How do I do it? Stay dang away from the canner, for heaven's sake. And so the only thing that you should be doing, because it's going to be coming up like this, and if I'm now at the front of the canner, so now it's the way I would do it from where I'm standing. This would be shooting way up here, and the fire would be going here. Well, what do you do? Okay, let's think about the physics of things right here. Time out, think. Okay, and this is a part of our preparation. This is part of knowledge is power. What is causing the pressure? The fire under the pot boils the water inside the pot, creating steam. And that steam is, before this blew, is in a closed system. So it's holding everything in, and that pressure is building and building and building. Once this blows, and it's not going to blow straight up, it's going to come out of there 15 pounds per square inch, and it's just going to go everywhere. Whoo, way like that. Once that blows, it's no longer a closed system, but the water is still being made to boil. And so that's an important consideration. So how can we interrupt this steam? Well, turn the heat off if you can safely do it. Since everything is happening above this level, if you can get yourself in, if food isn't spewing out, stay totally away from the line of fire of this. Put something on your hands, put something over your face, see if you can get the heat off under. Don't move the canner. Don't do anything to the canner. Let it finish, because we have a tendency to think, oh my gosh, it's blowing, it's going to last forever, hours and hours. It won't. It will last a few minutes. And yes, your ceiling might get hit with some of the food. Oh well. Don't you get near it to where you get hit in the face with the steam or the food. Stay back. So stay back, turn the heat off. If you have an electric stove that you are using and you can't get close to the knob, if the knob is across the canner, don't do that. Go directly to your breaker box. No, go right now after this video and figure out which breaker controls your stove and flip that breaker to stop the electricity from going. That's a safe way to turn the heat off. If you are using gas, regular natural gas, the only thing that you can do is either go to the gas main and turn it off, or if you can reach the knob, turn it off. Propane, generally a propane is coming from a tank that is off to the side. Ours is. So instead of trying to work with the switch on the stove itself, I can step a few feet away and turn it off right from the tank. So do everything that you can safely to cut the heat source. What if you can't? What if it is too dangerous? What if you would have to reach across and that was the only way to do it? Then don't do it. Step back and let it finish. Get way out of the way. Let it finish, because it's no longer a closed system, so no more pressure is building up. The water will still be boiling in the canner, but eventually the pressure that has built up is all going to be expended, and it will calm down and be just like a regular pot of boiling water. When there's no more steam coming out, when there's zero pressure, and you'll know because no more steam is coming out of here, then you can safely turn off the heat. Don't risk getting a burn just to turn off the heat. Do it only if you can do it safely. Steam burns are horrible. So stay away. Let it just drop on its own. And it's going to be a mess to clean up, but at least you are safe. And if we think about these things in advance, knowing that the probability for this happening, if you are vigilant, I never leave my canner unattended. Even when we do it outside, I have a clear shot visually from where I'm standing right now of my canner out there on that camp stove. Jim used to do some of his studying and class prep work sitting at our dining room table right there with the screen open, with the door open so that he could hear. Tune your ear to listen for the and if you can, where you have to bring it up to 15 pounds pressure. Now we're at 13 pounds pressure because I have a dial canner. So we keep it between 13 and 15. And we just listen for this little gentle and that tells us that it's sitting at 15, and that is okay. Between 13 and 15, we're happy. If it is silent, then you have to rely on your dial. You can, however, and we've done a video on this, and I'm going to put the little card right up here that you can click on that. You can buy a different set of pressure regulators that you can put on here that will give you 10 pounds pressure instead of this 15. So in pressure canning, you're either canning at 10 or 15, depending on your elevation. And so if you have your 10 PSI regulator on, then the same thing. If it's going very slowly, even slower than that, and steam is being spit off a little bit at a time, you know that you're hanging right there at 10 PSI. And then you can double check with your dial. So you can use your dial in cooperation with your pressure regulator. So being prepared for a situation is so much better than facing it as a surprise, not knowing what to do, thinking it's going to last forever, can't figure out what it is that you're supposed to do, and then just panicking and getting yourself burned. So make a plan for if this should happen, and know that the likelihood of it happening is so remote that in my lifetime of canning of well over 60 years, I have never had one blow, never. And you probably won't either. And so Marty seemed, from what I could take away from what she said, that she was not going to let that stop her. She was just wondering why, what happened. And I'm not sure what happened. It sounded to me like she had done everything right, and perhaps this was faulty. Who knows? But when it happened, it really frightened her. It would certainly frighten me and probably any of us. Now we are prepared with a mindset of what to do. And now we can just not even think about it anymore. We can just go through our safety precautions, getting our canner ready to go and can very safely. So I hope that this will help you think about things in advance. Being prepared is always better than having an emergency situation sneak up on you. We're not as efficient when we have to act in panic. And so this will take the panic out, because we've replaced fear and panic with knowledge. If it happens, we know what to do, and we'll just do it, and we'll clean up the mess afterward. We'll replace this little button, and we'll get right back to canning. So thank you for being with us for this, and we will see you very soon with another video.